I have always known that survival requires silence. That was my first lesson in life, and perhaps my last. My husband used to say I had the instincts of a fox, small, gray, easily overlooked, but never hunted without a counterplan. He is gone now, buried a decade, but his words remain sharper than the knives in my kitchen drawer. And today, as my blood thins and my bones ache, I cling to them more than ever. My family believes I am harmless. They smile too wide when they visit, speak too loudly as though I've gone deaf, and exchange glances when they think I'm not watching. They call me forgetful, frail, and sweet. All masks for greed. They want my house, my land, my accounts. They want me gone, locked away or buried, whichever is easiest. But I am not finished yet. And they're about to learn the cost of underestimating me. The change began with the phone. It was a Tuesday morning when I noticed the line was dead. I had been in the middle of dialing my lawyer, wanting to confirm a detail about my estate plan. Silence answered me, a flat, hollow nothing. By noon, my son Michael appeared at my door, tall and sweating from the drive. "Mother," he said with his politician's smile. "I thought I'd check in. How are you feeling?" I narrowed my eyes. "Fine. Except the phone's broken." He tilted his head like a nurse indulging a child. "Oh, is it? Well, maybe you misdialed again." "I don't misdial. The line's cut." He chuckled, stepped inside, and his gaze slid toward the wall where the cord disappeared. Too quickly. Too knowingly. That night, I searched. Behind the hydrangeas near the porch, I found the line severed clean with scissors. My scissors. From my sewing kit. So the war had begun. The next day, my daughter Claire arrived. She always brings flowers when she wants something. This time, carnations, garish and red. "Mother, we've been talking," she began after perfunctory chatter. She smoothed her skirt, eyes darting toward Michael, who had returned as well. "We worry about you. Living alone is risky." Michael produced a folder from his leather bag. "Legal papers. We've drafted a simple document. Just to give us authority to help manage things for you. Power of attorney. Nothing binding. Just a formality." I took the folder with trembling hands. Not from weakness, but to make them believe in my frailty. My eyes skimmed the words. Full control over my finances. Medical decisions. Property. Everything. I let my lips tremble. Oh my. That sounds serious." Michael softened his tone. "It's for your own good. You wouldn't want to make a mistake with all these complicated matters. Banks. Hospitals. It's too much for you now." Claire placed her hand on mine, her rings cutting into my skin. "Sign it tonight, Mother. Then you won't have to worry anymore." I smiled faintly, folded the document, and set it aside. "Perhaps tomorrow. I'd like to read it again slowly." They exchanged a glance, irritation, impatience, but feigned agreement. "Of course," Michael said. When they left, I locked my bedroom door and slid the papers under my mattress. Then I retrieved the small black recorder I had hidden years ago, a habit from my husband's corporate dealings. I placed it in the parlor, behind the clock. The next afternoon, they returned, confident and oily. This time, I let them talk. I asked questions. I feigned confusion. They whispered when they thought I was napping upstairs. And the recorder caught every word. That night, alone at my kitchen table, I pressed play. Claire's voice, she's stubborn, but she won't last. Once she signs, we can move her into a care home. Michael's reply, the house will fetch millions. We'll split it before she even realizes she's gone. My blood chilled, then boiled. Not sadness, not yet. Fury. Cold and clean. I slept with the recorder under my pillow. 2 mornings later, they pressed harder. Michael blocked the door as I shuffled in with my cane. Mother, we need your signature today. Claire slid the pen across the table. Now, please. I let my hands tremble, picked up the pen, poised it above the line. For a heartbeat, I saw victory in their eyes. Then I dropped the pen. I'm too tired, I murmured. Maybe tomorrow. Michael's jaw clenched. His smile cracked. They left in a storm of whispered curses, forgetting the recorder still rolling behind the clock. That evening, I called my lawyer from the neighbor's house down the lane. I told him everything. Do not sign a thing, he instructed. And keep that recorder safe. It may be your lifeline. I already knew. Because the first trap had been sprung, and I had stepped through it unscathed. But I also knew this was only the beginning. Predators never stop after the first taste of blood. The fire began with kindness. Claire arrived on a Thursday afternoon, humming like a bird. She carried groceries in a basket, bright tomatoes and herbs spilling over the top. I thought we could cook together, she said sweetly. Cooking had always been our bond, or at least, that's what she liked to pretend. I remembered when she was a child, tugging at my apron strings, asking to stir the pot. Back then her eyes had been bright with wonder. Now they gleamed with calculation. Still, I nodded. That would be lovely. She set about bustling in my kitchen, moving too quickly, too deliberately. I noticed how she touched the stove knobs more than once, lingering just a little too long. I noticed how she accidentally slid the deadbolt across the back door when she brought in another basket. And I noticed how she kept glancing at her watch. Dinner was soup, chicken, and herbs. She offered to start it while I sat at the table. My cane rested against the chair. I watched her chop onions with unsteady hands. Too much salt spilled into the pot. A nervous slip, or a deliberate distraction. When she turned her back, I leaned heavily on the cane and shuffled to the stove. My eyes dropped to the burner. The knob for the front right flame had been turned too far, hissing faintly, but unlit. Gas seeped into the air, invisible and patient. I said nothing. I returned to my chair. Claire served me a bowl, smiling, urging me to taste. I lifted the spoon, let it hover before my lips. Then I set it down. Too hot, I whispered. Her smile faltered. She watched me, waiting. Waiting for dizziness? Confusion? But the poison tonight was not in the soup. It was in the air. When she left, she was almost radiant, as if a burden had lifted. She kissed my cheek and said, "Rest well, mother. You'll be safe tonight." Safe. I waited until her car pulled away. Then I moved. The windows were stiff, swollen with years of rain, but I forced them open, inch by inch, my wrists burning. Gas rushed out in an invisible tide. I coughed into my sleeve, dragged myself toward the cellar door. The key rattled in my hand. The lock had rusted, but I remembered, that long ago there was another way out. The servants' passage. Sealed, they thought, when we modernized the house. But I had kept it clear. For reasons I never shared. I pried open the trap door under the rug, the one no one ever asked about. The air down there was damp, stale, but free of gas. I climbed down, closing the rug above me, sealing the poison upstairs. I waited in the dark. My candle stub flickered, shadows bending over the stones. My husband's voice echoed in memory. Always have a second escape. Always. Minutes later, I heard it. The faint scratch of a match, the roar of ignition. Through the floorboards, a tremor shook. The gas caught. Fire raced. The house groaned as though in pain. Flames licked the walls above me, but the stone of the passage held. I crouched, breathing shallow, gripping my cane like a weapon. When at last the fire subsided, I climbed the stone steps toward the outer hatch. It opened into the garden, hidden beneath ivy. Smoke curled into the night. I stood barefoot in the dew, watching my home burn from the outside. By dawn, the fire trucks had come. The men cursed at the damage, shook their heads, muttered about gas leaks. But when the inspector arrived, I was waiting. My nightgown was ash-streaked, my face pale. "Check the line," I told him. It was no accident. He frowned, but he listened. He followed me to the kitchen, to the twisted black stove. He bent close, tracing the cut in the line with his gloved finger. "This was deliberate," he muttered. I said nothing. My silence was agreement enough. Claire returned mid-morning, feigning shock, clutching her chest. "Oh, Mother. I can't believe this. Are you all right?" I let my eyes water, let my voice tremble. The firemen said it was a leak. A terrible accident. Her shoulders sagged in relief. She thought I believed the lie. But I watched her reflection in the window. The corner of her lips twitched upward, just for a second, before she masked it with tears. That night, in the temporary shelter of my neighbor's guest room, I listened to the recorder again. This time, it had caught something new: Michael and Claire together after their last visit. Claire, the gas will do it. She won't last 5 minutes. Michael, good. Once the house is gone, she'll have no choice but to come with us. We'll sell the land. Proof. I rewound it twice, committing their voices to memory, searing every word into my bones. They thought fire would finish me. But the fox always finds a burrow. And I knew now they were escalating. If flames could not claim me, they would try something sharper, something deadlier. And I would be ready. I woke one morning to find my teacup waiting on the bedside table. Claire claimed she'd brought it up while I was sleeping. Chamomile, she said. Soothing for the nerves after the fire. I lifted the cup, sniffed, and smiled weakly. Then I set it down untouched. The leaves were too fine, too uniform. Not chamomile. Something else. By mid-morning, Michael arrived with a man in a white coat. A doctor, or something meant to look like one. His glasses caught the light in sharp squares. His handshake was too firm, too rehearsed. Mother, Michael began, we've arranged a little checkup. Just routine. We want to make sure you're well after that dreadful accident. Accident. Always that word. The doctor opened his bag, revealing instruments that clinked softly, like chains. A stethoscope, a blood pressure cuff, and small vials I could not name. Claire stood behind him, hands clasped, smiling as though this were a gift. I let my shoulders sag. Of course, dear. Anything for you. He began with questions. Do you know the year? I answered clearly. Your full name. I gave it without hesitation. Do you sometimes forget where you are? I laughed gently. No more than you do. Michael's jaw tightened. The doctor frowned, then reached for the teacup. Did you drink your tea, Mrs. Hale? I widened my eyes. Oh, yes. It was very sweet. Thank you, Claire. Her lips parted in a flicker of confusion. I had not touched my cup, but I had switched it with the one Claire left for me. Hers was now mine, and mine was now hers. She had sipped before the doctor arrived, without noticing. Just a taste, a quick swallow. Enough. The questions dragged on. Soon, Claire's face grew pale. Her hands trembled. Sweat prickled at her temple. Mother, she whispered, sinking into a chair. I don't feel well. The doctor turned, alarmed. What did you take? Nothing, she gasped. Just tea. He glanced at the cup on my bedside table. His face changed. Anger, then fear. Michael's eyes burned holes into me, but he said nothing. The doctor packed his bag hastily. I'll need to examine her instead. Claire waved him off, insisting she was fine, though her skin was clammy and her pupils wide. Michael herded him out, muttering curses under his breath. I sat quietly, hands folded in my lap. My tea remained untouched. That evening, Michael returned alone. His smile was brittle. You're clever, Mother. Too clever for your own good. I tilted my head. I don't know what you mean. He leaned closer, voice low. If you keep resisting us, accidents will keep happening. Do you understand? My heart raced, but I let my face remain calm. I'm an old woman, Michael. Accidents happen all the time. His eyes narrowed. For the first time, he seemed unsure. He left without another word. That night, I searched my late husband's desk, the one Michael thought I never touched. Inside was the small, leather-bound ledger where I now kept every note, every detail. Phone line cut, first attempt. Gas line rigged, second attempt. Poison tea, false doctor, third attempt. Beside each, I placed the evidence: recordings, photographs, scraps of handwriting. I was building a fortress of proof. But evidence alone would not save me. They had already decided that I was disposable. Their patience was thinning, which meant the next move would not be subtle. It would be final. And I would need to be ready. The fox had survived fire and poison. But I knew predators cornered will strike hardest at the end. I whispered to the darkness, to my husband's memory, to the house that had half burned and still stood. I will not go quietly. The house was quiet again, though its walls still smelled faintly of smoke. Repairs had begun, but the scars remained, black streaks up the parlor ceiling, boards warped in the dining room. It was a wounded beast, this home, but like me, it refused to fall. I knew what was coming. Their patience was spent. Poison had failed. Fire had failed. Even deceit had failed. That left only one thing. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. Michael came alone, his voice echoing through the hall. "Mother," he called, casual, friendly. "Are you upstairs?" I stayed silent, watching from the landing above. His shoes clicked against the marble floor as he stepped inside. He looked up, eyes calculating. "There you are," he said. "I've come to check on you." I tightened my grip on the banister. My cane leaned against the wall. "That's kind of you," I said softly. He began to climb the stairs, one hand on the railing, his movements deliberate. Slow, like a predator. I stepped back, letting him reach me at the top. His breath was even, his smile thin. "You know, Mother," he said, "these old staircases are dangerous. One slip, and down you go." His hand brushed my elbow. Too firmly. Testing. I wobbled deliberately, letting my knee buckle. "Oh, I am clumsy these days," I murmured. His smile widened. But what he did not know was that I had spent the previous night loosening the banister screws on the left side, the very section where he now placed his weight. Just enough to make it treacherous. Not so weak that it would break at a touch, but primed to fail if someone leaned too hard. I shifted, letting him guide me toward it. Then, just as his hand pressed my back, urging me forward, I stumbled the other way. His momentum carried him sideways, his full weight slamming into the banister. The wood shrieked, split, gave way. Michael's face flashed from triumph to terror as he pitched forward into the void. His scream echoed, cut short by the crack of bone against marble below. I stood at the landing, heart hammering, staring down at my son's broken body. Silence fell. The front door burst open moments later. Claire rushed in, eyes wide, mascara already smudged as though she'd been preparing her tears. She froze at the sight. "Mother," she shrieked. "What have you done?" I steadied my breath. "He slipped," I said calmly. "You warned me, remember? These stairs are dangerous." Her hands trembled, but her gaze darted toward the study, toward the desk where my ledger lay hidden. I saw it in her eyes. She still wanted the prize. Even with Michael gone, greed gnawed at her. But I was ready. Because earlier that morning, I had made a phone call. Not to her. Not to Michael. To the police. To my lawyer. I told them everything. And I had shown them the recordings. When the officers arrived, I was sitting in my armchair, shawl wrapped around my shoulders, recorder in my lap. Claire raged, screamed, insisted I was confused, delusional, murderous. But the evidence spoke louder. The tapes of whispered schemes. The fire inspector's report. The doctor's trembling testimony, summoned under threat of exposure. And now Michael's fatal fall, caught on the hidden camera I had placed in the hall. The officers did not look at me with pity. They looked at me with respect. Claire was led out in handcuffs, her shrieks trailing into silence. I did not watch her go. That night, the house was mine again. Alone, yes. Empty, yes. But it breathed with me, its wounded walls holding strong. I poured myself a real cup of chamomile tea and sat by the window, watching the moon silver the garden. My family had believed age was weakness. They mistook patience for frailty, silence for stupidity. They thought I would crumble, sign away my life, or perish in fire, poison, or a fall. Instead, they fell into their own traps. I sipped my tea, warmth steadying my hands. And I whispered to the shadows, to the ghosts of my bloodline who had turned predator. Underestimating me was your fatal mistake. The house is quiet now. No more hurried footsteps on the stairs. No more forced laughter over tea. No more voices conspiring in corners when they thought I was too deaf, too tired, too old to notice. Just silence and me. The investigators came and went. They took their photographs, their statements, their reports. They shook my hand gently as if afraid I might break. They did not know I am unbreakable. My lawyer assured me everything is secure now. The estate, the accounts, the land. Mine until my last breath. No challenges. No claims. My family's signatures, those false promises they once thrust in front of me, mean nothing now. Michael lies in the ground. Claire sits behind bars. Their children, those who once kissed my cheek with sticky mouths and called me grandma, have scattered like startled crows. I do not blame them. Blood is no shield against the rod of greed. I am alone, yes. But I have been alone for a long time. The difference is now I am safe. I walk the halls at night, cane tapping against the marble, breathing in the scent of smoke that still lingers faintly in the walls. The fire almost took me. The poison almost dulled my mind. The staircase almost became my grave. Almost. Each time I lived. Not by chance, but by will. By instinct. By cunning. They believed old age meant blindness. That memory fades, that wit dulls, that strength abandons. They forgot that age can also sharpen. Age strips away vanity, leaves only bone, instinct, and resolve. I saw through them because I have seen everything before. Lies, betrayals, ambition, these are not new inventions. They simply thought themselves clever. But cleverness without patience is only arrogance. Sometimes I sit in the parlor, recorder in hand, and play back their voices. I listen not out of grief, but as a reminder. Claire whispering, "She won't last. The gas will do it." Michael, cold and certain, one slip, and down she goes. I let the words wash over me like a hymn. Proof of what I endured. Proof of what I conquered. And then I switch it off, smile, and pour myself another cup of tea. I have secured my wealth. I have secured my freedom. But more importantly, I have secured my dignity. No one will put me away in some sterile room. No one will pry the keys from my hand. No one will decide for me how my story ends. I decide. The night is long. The house creaks around me, but it stands. And so do I. I lean on the banister, repaired now, polished and strong. I look down into the marble foyer where Michael fell, and I whisper into the emptiness. You should have known better. My family's downfall was not fire, nor poison, nor even their own greed. Their downfall was this. They underestimated me. And that was their fatal mistake.